January 7th, 2026. Brand new Hubble image just released, and the anti-tail is still there. Still impossible, now extending 400,000 kilometers toward the sun, farther than the Earth-Moon distance. Still tightly collimated, still defying solar wind and radiation pressure that should be pushing it away. Still pointing in the direction that physics says it shouldn't. And here's the kicker. When Loeb submitted his first paper explaining the physics of this anti-tail, the editor of Astrophysical Journal Letters rejected it without even sending it for review, stating the results would be of rather limited interest to the astrophysics research community. Limited interest. The most anomalous feature of the most significant interstellar object ever detected, and they called it limited interest. The paper got published in a competing journal after a favorable peer review, and 6 months later, Atlas's anti-tail is still dominating every image, still unexplained by natural comet models, and that editor's dismissal looks more embarrassing with every new observation. The anti-tail has been the smoking gun since July 21st, 2025, when Hubble first captured Atlas. Even back then, the image showed the coma extending twice as far toward the sun as in other directions. Factor in the 10-degree viewing angle, and the actual structure is 11.6 times longer than it is wide, tightly collimated, extending sunward, the opposite of what comets do. Normal comets have tails pointing away from the sun because solar wind pushes gas backward and solar radiation pressure pushes dust away from the solar disk. That's basic physics that every comet in history has obeyed. Material gets heated, ejected, then pushed away by the sun's energy. The tail always streams behind the comet as it moves through space, blown backward like hair in wind. Atlas does the opposite, points at the sun, before perihelion and after perihelion, from July through January across 6 months of observation from different perspectives. This isn't a projection effect where viewing angle creates an illusion of a sunward tail. This is physical reality confirmed by multiple telescopes at different positions, showing material flowing toward the sun against the forces that should be pushing it away. Loeb wrote 3 papers attempting to explain the physics. The first one, co-authored with Dr. Eric Keto, got rejected by Astrophysical Journal Letters with that limited interest dismissal. They submitted to monthly notices of the Royal Astronomical Society, where it was accepted after favorable peer review. The subjective editorial gatekeeping tried to bury research on the most obvious anomaly of an interstellar visitor, and only a competing journal's willingness to actually review the work allowed the science to get published. That editor's judgment aged poorly. The January 7th Hubble image shows the anti-tail extending 400,000 kilometers. The Larsen-Sekanina filter reveals the triple jet structure with that massive collimated anti-tail dominating the entire configuration. The 2 minor jets are equally spaced at 120 degrees, neither pointing away from the sun as normal comet tails would. This isn't subtle. This isn't marginal. This is the most prominent feature of Atlas's appearance, visible in every high-resolution image, defying the physics that governs every other comet. And the collimation remains tight, an order of magnitude longer than it is wide, maintaining coherent structure across hundreds of thousands of kilometers, while fighting against solar wind and radiation pressure that should be dispersing it into a diffuse cloud. Natural gas plumes broaden as they travel. Radiation pressure scatters dust particles. Solar wind disrupts flow patterns, yet Atlas's anti-tail stays narrow and coherent farther than the Earth-Moon separation. The rotation axis alignment compounds the impossibility. The anti-tail wobbles within 7 degrees of the rotation axis, which means the rotation axis itself points within 7 degrees of the sun. That alignment has a sub 1% probability of occurring randomly. Combined with the trajectory alignment to the ecliptic plane, also sub 1% probability, the geometric configuration has combined odds below 0.0001, 1 in 10,000 chances that both alignments occur naturally in the same object. NASA's November 19th press conference concluded Atlas behaves like a regular comet without mentioning these geometric anomalies. Ignore the unexplained features, and you can claim there's nothing surprising. The easiest way to argue you understand something is by ignoring what you don't understand about it. That approach isn't science. That's narrative protection. When data shows anomalies that don't fit existing models, you investigate them. You don't dismiss them as limited interest. The anti-tail of Atlas is the opposite of limited interest. It's the central mystery that every natural comet explanation has failed to adequately address for 6 months. The editor who rejected the paper claimed the astrophysics research community wouldn't care. But this anti-tail has been photographed by Hubble, Webb, ground-based telescopes worldwide, and orbital observatories. It's documented across multiple wavelengths from optical to infrared to X-ray. It maintains impossible geometry across hundreds of thousands of kilometers. It points in the direction that solar wind should prevent. And it does all this while traveling at 60 kilometers per second through our solar system from interstellar space, carrying life chemistry at unprecedented concentrations. Limited interest? This is the most interesting feature of the most significant visitor we've ever detected from beyond our solar system. The anti-tail alone justifies comprehensive study. Add the 13 other documented anomalies, and you have an object that demands explanation beyond its irregular comet dismissals. The January 7th image proves the anti-tail isn't a temporary phenomenon. 6 months from discovery through perihelion and beyond, it persists. 400,000 kilometers of collimated material pointing toward the sun. Triple jet structure with perfect 120-degree symmetry. Rotation axis aligned with solar direction. All of it was captured in the latest Hubble data, showing the same impossible geometry that journal editors called limited interest. Atlas's anti-tail is not regular comet behavior. The journal that rejected the paper protecting that narrative looks worse with every image.